Never in doubt. Never in doubt. Hello, everybody. Everybody. Welcome into the From the Firefly podcast. My name is Callum. I will be your host as always. Episode 64. 64 episodes in, and we confirm our status as a championship club, which was obviously, for anyone that's been listening to this podcast for the last 6 weeks, has never been in doubt. Has never worried me at any moment. Uh, no. That was a great day yesterday. Uh, Absolutely great day. Uh, Enjoyed pretty much every moment of it except for the period after Hull scored. By the way, that is a foul for anyone questioning. He basically takes half of Thomas Kaminski's shirt off Ollie McBurney. He spent most of the game just being a bit of an ass house. Got guy next to me got in trouble for calling him a word, which I will not repeat on the internet. But yeah, he was just trying to rile people up, being very annoying. But that's a clear foul. And the worst thing is from the camera angle too. There's a clear direct line to the goalkeeper, and how the ref or the line. I haven't seen it. Don't know. But anyway, who cares? I'm not going to promise you a massive analysis of the game yesterday. I don't think I really need to. I think that we're going to spend a lot of time this summer after I take a bit of a break. Spend a lot of time, I'm sure, this summer as players come and go, and we see who's available, but who the players the club are looking at, who they're trying to bring in, who they're trying to let go. We can spend a lot of time sort of criticizing players and analyzing players and looking at the decisions that are being made at board level and all the rest of it. But I do think it's important that we take at least sort of a week to celebrate. So everyone going down to Swansea on Saturday. I imagine it's going to just be a massive drinking session and very little actual. Just a big, massive celebration, a big party, as it should be for everyone other than Nathan Jones. As we play Swansea, but you've got to celebrate. I actually thought that the atmosphere yesterday was brilliant. I was a little unsure about the video they put out with Nathan Jones saying we need everybody there and all the rest of it, but actually I think it worked a treat. I thought fans were right behind it. There's a lot of noise. It was a pretty quiet Hull end actually, considering they sold the end out. But it was loud, it was noisy, it was sunny. I think a few people that got burned sitting in the North Lower. It's my last time in my old season ticket seat down there. I'm moving to the East Stand next year, so it's quite sad to say goodbye to that view. But no, it was a really, really good afternoon. It was a good lunchtime. It was a bit of a party. I think reasonably summed up by TC and Jaden Fevrier going into the corner flag and sort of slightly messing it up. But it coming off a Hull player, and you just saw TC create this massive smile, and I just thought that's what we've been missing for however long. It was great to see, and how can you not enjoy it? I thought we actually played reasonably well. Much better goalkeeping performance from Thomas Kaminski yesterday. I thought he was really good. Hull went, "You're not going to come for crosses." Tried to cross it a lot. He went, "I'm going to come for everything." And other than one sort of muck up in the second half, which does happen, it happens to every keeper at this level. We go for. I saw Cummings. I saw Rushworth do it for Coventry in the home game when we played them. Right, you come for it, you don't quite get there. But then was it Giles on the other on the back post who completely messed up the finish? It didn't matter anyway. But yeah, much better. Macaulay Gillespie looks like a new footballer when Connor Cody is playing. I'm sure there'll be a lot of calls for Connor Cody to stay. The difficulty is that his family's all up in the northwest, and he's on a lot of money. I think that money probably can be better spent in other places. Greg Docherty looks like a championship midfielder all of a sudden. I thought he was excellent again, running around, breaking up tackles, but actually looking okay on the ball as well. At the end, he was running around on one leg. A proper captain's performance from him. Um, you know, Carey was a bit disappointing, but he's been disappointing for a couple of months, so it's not a massive surprise. I think that's a player that maybe has been slightly found out and maybe just needs to kind of get to the summer and adjust maybe the way that he approaches games at this level. I thought Harvey Nibbs was a really good addition. Nathan Jones sort of packed that midfield, put an extra midfielder in, and Nibbs was there picking up second balls, which is something we haven't been able to do for weeks. That was great. Further on the right hand side, the goals. Lovely. It's a lovely goal. It's a proper East London cage football goal. That the skill to get around, to go past two, and then just knock it bottom bins. I see that in the football cages around me. He's not from far away from here. So signing my beast fellow East London boy. So, but a great goal. Couple of moments of great skill. But I'm sure we'll chat about him as kind of the weeks go on and what Stockport are interested in and whether it's a player that we want to bring in. Nathan Jones a little bit cryptic in the post-match about him, but I guess we'll have to see. Other side, who started? Wait, why am I messing up? Who started on the other side? Chambers came on, didn't he? Did he start? I can't even remember. Doesn't really matter. Chambers was okay. I think that's a player that probably will go back. Sorry, it was Harry Clark, wasn't it? It was Clark that started on the other side, who was dreadful. The header back for the corner that led to their goal was immeasurably stupid. But he's gone off the boil a little bit. I don't know. I don't think that I would sign him now. Actually, funnily enough, the two loanees I thought we probably should sign after a couple of weeks being here. Actually, all three of them, I thought Chambers, probably Dykes, and Chambers and Clark. Now, I probably err against it now. I think you can probably find better options on the market than those players, especially for probably the cost it's gonna cost to get some of them. But yeah, I mean, they didn't have a great game. Harry Clark, we'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to sit here and bash players, which is good for safety. Seems a bit silly. And then up front, Charlie Callum, that is one of the best goals. That's the best goal of the season. I'm almost certain off the top of my head. Probably up there with Carey's at Ipswich. That is absolutely filthy to but we played the ball on the ground to the forwards yesterday. That was the change. We put an extra midfielder and we went on the ground. We tried to play the ball in midfield. You had the extra midfielder, so if somebody wasn't so good on the ball, you could make up for it. The hope is, as we get to the summer and we bring players in, right, who have that more sort of technical capability, you can do that more often, even if you have a bigger striker on the pitch. And that's the next step of that quote unquote evolution. We have to score more goals, right? What's that? I think it's 17 straight games where we didn't score more than one goal. So it was either 0 or 1. You're not gonna be any better off than we are currently doing that. We have to get to a point where we're scoring two or three, averaging. If you go and look at the teams in the top 6 or in that sort of top 6 battle, they're also averaging about 2 a game. So we need to get to that point. I think having midfielders are almost more important than strikers in terms of that. We just don't create anything. But also to sort of dominate games. I think the one thing that Nathan Jones did yesterday was he didn't settle, he didn't sit back. He sort of tried to play, I guess it's a mid-block. It's not quite a mid-block, I don't think, in classical sort of football tactical terminology, but I'm going to call it one for ease. Right, he's played the sort of mid-block, so he's played that sort of defence. It's not quite on the halfway line. It's actually about midway in our half. So it allows you to kind of step up and press up. But because you had someone like Nibbs up front, it allowed Doherty to drop a bit deeper. And then Cody's there to drop into the back 5. So you ended up with a thing where you can actually cover that space. To do that more often, you're going to need the players to do it. It does sort of expose you on the wing. That was something Hull were trying to take advantage of. It's just kind of mid blocks do that. To be totally fair to Kaminsky, as I say, he came and claimed pretty much everything that he needed to. So look, sorry, to go back to Callum, I've just done a whole thing and haven't done the Callum bit. But yeah, I mean, it's Galazzo from Callum. I thought he pressed, he ran around, he did kind of what you need to do when you're a sole striker. Nibbs at times pressed like a striker, but it was a 5-4-1. But players that came on, I thought TC was okay in terms of doing what he was asked to do. We'll come to the awards at the end. I don't really care about season awards. I've never cared about season awards, but we have to talk about it. But yeah, he was okay. I don't think any sub sort of Dykes was okay when he came on. Fevrier really should have passed to one of the two of them to tap it in at the end. But it wasn't, nobody came on and was poor. As I say, Burke, I thought, is sort of the exception. That I thought Burke in that second half was exceptional, right? To come on and have 13 defensive actions, he was like, genuinely brilliant, especially in that second half when they were trying to sort of target that right hand side. And Harry Clark was letting players kind of run riot around him. Burke was there to sort of keep him out. And I think that's the thing with Burke is that even though he's very used to, due to his body breaking down so often, he's used to doing that thing where he plays for an hour only. It still takes a couple of games to kind of get back into it, right? And I think it just took him the Wednesday game, and then I think he looked a lot sharper yesterday. But as I say, when Reece Burke is fit, he's an exceptional centre back. He's not some sort of mug. It's just like anybody else. You get rusty, and the problem with him is that he's injured all the time, right? But I thought, in a game that mattered, he's earned back his wages, right? Because the cost of relegation is a lot more than however many grand we're paying Reece Burke a week. So, in all, we don't win at Sheffield United without him either. So, all in all, you can live with it, sort of thing. I wish it was only a 1 year deal. We didn't have another year of it, but hey ho, it is what it is. It is what it is. And I tell you what, 10 grand over the next couple of years is not going to be anywhere close to that's what we were playing. I was chatting to was it Davenport? We were talking about the goalkeeper, and he was sort of saying, the goalkeeper should never be your highest paid player. That is true, because it puts a lot of pressure on them. But it's also like 20 grand is not a lot of money for a championship starting keeper. People realize this. Like, it's something like 14th, 15th, 16th highest in the division, right? Well, the stats track that he's about the 15th best keeper in the division. It's not really that much of a. There's not really that much of an under and over performance. It's just relative to the rest of the wages we've paid, where the issue sort of has come from. But it's good to see. We'll see what happens in the summer with him. I don't think we can shift the contract. I've said it on this podcast before. I'd be looking at Sam Tickle at Wigan to come in and let Mannion go to a League One side. I wonder actually if we could include Mannion as a make weight and that sort of deal. But hey ho, it doesn't happen that often in football though. Those sort of make weight deals, but those sort of swap deals. Player of the Year awards. Players Player of the Year is Lloyd Jones. Player of the Year was Lloyd Jones. Yeah, there really isn't an argument. I don't think anyone can make about that. He's been our best player this season. He's been almost ever present. Absolute rock. Fair play to him. He's played on bad ankles and bad knees and bad hips and all the rest of it. We don't stay up without Lloyd Jones. Absolutely fantastic from him. Player of the Year. Yeah, okay, same thing. Second player, Sonny Carey, yeah, top scorer. Okay, that's probably going to happen. I know the last couple of months, I think he's been pretty poor, but for that first sort of 6 months of the year, he was really a shining light. And then the one that I think has annoyed people, which it always does when we mention the words Tyrese Campbell, but Tyrese Campbell came third. Let me disclaim here, as much as I'm sometimes called a Tyrese Campbell fan, let me disclaim I voted for Murray Bell, and I still think Murray Bell probably should have won that. I think the reason TC won it is twofold. I think there's probably there's a very loud section of people that say Tyrese Campbell isn't good enough. I don't know if it's actually necessarily a majority view beyond sort of people being very loud about it. I think he's a player that actually gets you out of your seat, and I don't think we have anybody else really, maybe Fevrier a little bit, who does that. So that's nice. And I think that there's interest from clubs higher up the division for a reason. So that doesn't surprise me. The other thing is that he's played so many minutes, right? If you look at who else would you vote for, right? Bell's missed what? Did he miss 12 games? Was it about a fourth of the season? Can someone missing 25% of the season win Player of the Season? Player of the Year? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I gave it to him because I think we've looked a lot better with him in. Although, as I say, fair play to Macaulay Gillespie. Yesterday, I thought he had a very good performance, but yeah, we need to get a backup for Bell. That doesn't feel like a massive step down or a massive change in footballer. We need someone who's faster. The Macron can cover more ground. I'm sure someone in League One will be sort of sending us, will be willing to offer, a decent chunk of change, because he's very much a top end of League One centre back, and he's done a job. Right, coming up a level, he's done a job, but he's not quite there. And I think there's probably him moving on makes sense, much like I think Alex Mitchell moving on in the summer makes sense. Obviously, Terry Taylor's going to go on a free. Unfortunately, Hadmay's still here. I think probably Coventry will depart. I think probably into that last year. I don't think you want to give him a championship level contract, if I'm honest. I've been not disappointed, but I think the game's maybe been too fast for him and he hasn't maybe adjusted. He's a player that I like a lot. I just don't like him enough to pay him 10 to 12 grand a week, which is what you're going to pay him for a championship midfielder. I think once you kind of spell the money out, it doesn't make a lot of sense, and there'll be a lot of teams at the top end of League One very interested in him. So those are three I think are pretty nailed on. We'll go. Probably, they're going to try and get something for Tante. I would have thought. We'll see if there's a February deal you can do. I was talking to a Stockport fan saying, actually, Tante's not been very good, and we don't want to keep him. That's a mess at Bolton. That's an absolute mess. I don't know what we're going to do with that. Dykes will probably go. I think Clark will go back to Ipswich, and then we'll see what they do with that. As I say, I'd let Mannion go. I'd go and try and get Sam Tickle from Wigan. The more I say it, the more I convince myself that that's the move to make. We'll see. There will be interest from other clubs as well. Trying to think who else probably departs. I think Greg probably does stay over the last couple of games. I think he's redeemed himself a bit. I think Nib definitely stays. I think Carney, you probably give him another contract and send him to League One. I think his contract's till 28. You probably want another year on that. Get him to 29 and then send him off. And then the big one, which is Mbic and what they do there. From what I've heard, the intention is not to sell. They're not really interested in it. But there will come a number. If somebody offers you it, you're going to have to take. But we can talk more about this in the future. In terms of coaching, I think Henderson probably should depart. I think it's pretty obvious with our goalkeepers who have mentally struggled a little bit this year, and I think a lot of that is on coaching. If you want to find out more about that, we can listen to the previous podcast where I go into that a little bit more detail. And then we'll see what they do for. I'd like another assistant coach. I think another assistant with a different sort of tactical view, someone maybe that's focused on attacking play would be very interesting. I think you absolutely keep Curtis Fleming around. One, because he's like the nicest bloke in football, and that's important. And two, because he's a good foil for Nathan Jones because he's the nicest guy in football. So you end up in a world where I think that's necessary. But I think you probably need another tactico in there, someone just to do that attacking bit. So that's where I sort of stand. Medical stuff have been okay this year, so I don't think you need to do anything. It was good to see Gabriel Brenner, by the way, and good to see Freeman a couple of weeks ago. Shows they are around, and I think that everybody's getting ready for it can be a big summer. I think they're going to spend a lot of money, relatively, and we're just going to have to hope that they spend it in the right way. I don't have a heck of a lot of time. As you guys know, the Chronicles is in 15 minutes, so I'm going to just run through a couple of comments. I've got quite a few. Thank you all for coming to join me. I really appreciate you doing so. I hope your head is feeling a little bit better than mine was this morning. Hello to Sam. What a crazy and unreal game yesterday. It was actually a lot of fun. Actually a pretty good game of football. It was naff for 35 minutes and then just suddenly became actually quite an entertaining watch. Robert saying, I thought we might scrape a draw yesterday. I didn't think we would beat Hull with two terrific goals. They were both wonderful strikes, weren't they, really? View on Jones after yesterday's speech, etc. Curious if fans that aren't pro Jones have changed their tune. I've never been anti-Jones. I've always said I would keep him. My point has always been that I think you need a bit more oversight. But I'm not someone at all who's ever really wanted him to go. As I say, it's just that oversight bit. It's just sort of regulating the sort of crazier moments. And I think sometimes those moments can last too long and things can fester. I think that you need to have a bit more of a snappy thing. And also, my worry is him spending money because I don't want to end up with a bunch of players on. I don't want to end up like Stoke after he left there. And that's my big worry is if you look at what happened with Stoke afterwards. The reason I don't like him is that sort of messed with their... It's not quite PSR in the Championship. I forget what it's called. It doesn't really work, whatever it is. But the sort of spending regulations that messed with Stoke for a long time afterwards, sort of three seasons or so afterwards because of long-term contracts. That's one that's where I am on Nathan. We're quite interested to see what the board do regarding Jones. They want to trust him in another summer window, especially the money that we're spending. They're going to. They have to. As Paul Bowen puts it all the time. They have to. They don't have a choice. If we don't spend the money, then we're not going to progress at all. We're going to end up back here next year. And I don't think anyone wants to do that. Can't you have a survival glow about you, this pod? Like, so I think I probably just caught the sun yesterday, if I'm honest with you, Arnold. But I appreciate it. At least we finally got there from Tommy. That's the main thing. We're a bit like the drunken guy at the end of the night, stumbling across the landing, right? It's like, well, at least we made it. It's just we sort of worried everybody on the way in. There's times we thought, are we going to get home or not? Two great goals at the Valley again, another crack at the Championship, up the Addicks. What else can you say? Rumored Dele Alli has been offered a trial in the summer. That's interesting. I don't know how I feel about that, if I'm honest with you. I think if you can get a Dele Alli that's a semblance of the player, even though he was at Everton at times, you probably have very good Championship football. If you get the one that's at Tottenham, you know, but I don't think you're going to get that now. I think clubs probably should help Dele a little bit. I think if you haven't heard his interview with Gary Neville, please do it. It is genuinely heartbreaking. But it's also a business, and I think you have to be really, really careful. I know there are some concerns about the way he's handled himself at times, and anybody that sort of, you know, he's somebody that's battled addiction, and that's a really complicated thing for any football club to deal with. So I would be hesitant, but I don't know if it's actively harmful. I hope that makes sense to people. Tommy, such a change to be safe for the game to go. Really thought we'd go to the final game, us being Charlton. I know. Well, I mean, if you watch any women's football, at least the women are going to keep you on your toes on Saturday afternoon. Fantastic. We're still a Championship side. We should and could push on. Hopefully, Brenner and Freeman give them a good budget. I'm hopeful. There should be one. By all accounts, there will be a decent budget in the summer. They're not intending to do it on the cheap. I think there's a difference between doing it on the cheap and doing it sustainably. And people hear the word sustainably and they think cheap. I don't think that's what they're trying to do. I think that we've lost 16 million this year. We just don't have the commercial revenue at the moment, and that's what's stopping you from going further. There's the Valley piece, and there's a big spend. Evening Championship football team fans, I know. How does that feel, Mark? It feels pretty nice. Or without change, they did change formation. He went 5-4-1. We're both wrong. Callum looked like a viable Godden replacement yesterday. Looked to be a more physical player than he has been. I think it genuinely is because they played it on the floor. As silly as it sounds, I think we decided to actually play the ball on the ground. And when you got a player that's that small, him receiving it on the ground is really helpful. It's something they should try with Tyrese Campbell at some point, to actually play the ball to him on the floor rather than trying to hit it at his head. Just an idea for Nathan. Got for Collins with his injury, definitely rushed him back, but didn't have any other option. No, because you couldn't trust Burke to get through it. Fair play to Burke for getting through the 90. Doesn't really take Keane and Goff with you on Sunday. I'd take Mwamba and Goff and whatever with you on Saturday. Like, go have some fun. Don't worry about it. We're all going to be in the crowd, not worrying about it. Yeah, breaks the time. He's Premier League player if he didn't get injuries. Yeah, he's a West Ham Academy kid. Harley was absolutely, there was a lot of interest in him. He had a really bad injury, and he didn't really have that before he was at Hull. And that messed with him getting that sort of thing. Isn't it funny that Callum is one of his best games, but that definitely plays a system which suits him best? Yeah, but I don't know if it's a system. It's quite literally just place the ball on the floor. I really do think it is that simple. It's just playing the ball on the ground. It's a 2-year deal for Kaminsky. It's a 3-year. I think it's a 2+1. So I think it's 2 with the club option. I think they often announce them as 3, even though it's 2+1. Would Tickle play second fiddle for one season? That's exactly what I would do personally. Hello, I think it's the first time I've seen you comment. Thanks for coming along. That's what I would do. Yeah, I'd play him second fiddle. And I think, in that case, if something goes wrong, I think you've got yourself someone. You've got you've got a really, really good backup, one that will develop almost certainly into a Championship goalkeeper. But a season's worth of output from Sonny in a few months. We did. And as I say, if you're the club's top scorer, you finishing second in Player of the Season voting, I don't think is inappropriate. That's fine. I'm not raging about it. He has not been good for a few months, but I have no issue with him getting second. I have no issue with any of them getting it. I get why all 3 of them did. I personally voted for Bell rather than Tyrese, but I voted for Sonny, I think, to get second, if I remember properly. Maybe it was third. I can't remember. I really don't have a problem with it. I think it's absolutely fine. Cuts, I also voted for Bell. Yeah. And also, just be really clear, no one cares about these awards. No one's going to be thinking about this in 2 weeks' time. Do Do we sell Ramsey? I wonder if he doesn't sign a new deal, got a year left. This is the tricky one, I think. I mean, this is the really complicated one. He himself has said multiple times he wants to stay. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't think they've even had the conversation with anyone, I think, except for Tyrese Campbell. So I think it's only Tyrese Campbell they've talked to about doing the deal, and even then they've just kind of broached and gone, "Are you interested in it?" I think he said yes, but we're going to have to wait and see. Coventry isn't near the level, unfortunately. He's too slow, unfortunately. He's too slow and he can't cover enough ground, and at this level you're going to get killed. Which is really unfortunate because, again, he's a player I really, really like. Anyone knows me knows I'm a big Connor Coventry fan, but I got that wrong. I thought he was a player that probably had a better ceiling than Dobson. I was wrong about that. I will put my hands up. Next time I see Mick, I'll let him know. Hearing Nathan speak to Charlton live, we didn't mention Hendo. No, I mean, he wouldn't do, but I think it's this last year of his contract for Hendo. My mate Sean came to his first ever football game yesterday, left asking me about the season tickets. Oh, no. I'm still pretty sure season tickets at Charlton should come with free therapy sessions, 6 hours for all of us. And then a sanity check to make sure that we shouldn't all be put into mental hospitals for our own safety. Like a chicken stripping in an air fryer. I was sitting on the North Lower yesterday. It was terrible. Like on it was great, but it was terrible. I mean, I was just sat next to a bunch of shirtless blokes. It's like, okay. They're lovely guys. They're lovely people. So I'm never about okay. Everyone's just taking their shirts off. Fair enough. It's only a rumor, an odd one at that. Yeah, I mean, again, like the lots of players kind of come and train, and you know, you have a look at them, and nothing ever happens with it. It's not a weird thing. What will happen about Dixon? I assume he'll depart. He's with the under-21s now. Yeah, Mark's right, but I think he must depart. And then, yeah, Coleman's goals per 90 is decent. It ranks higher than that stat than Kiefer Moore, Agyemang, Conway, and Kona. Yeah, the thing about Agyemang does a lot of things off that aren't relied. You know, they don't rely on that. He's such a physical specimen. I think Kiefer Moore is as well. They change games in a different way, and then Conway, I think, is quick. But Conway's not had a great season for Borough, I don't think, anyway, having chatted to their fans after the game. But that may have just been their frustration at missing chances. Right. I'm going to call it there because I've got about 5 minutes and I need to go and hop on the Chronicles. So come join us over there. But thank you so much. We've had a number of people in here. I really appreciate those of you that are commenting for the first time. Thank you so much. Hopefully, you'll join the journey. However, I just want to finish this episode by saying we're going to have a bit of a bumper episode. We'll have my friend Paul Davenport will be on next week. We'll have a longer show, and we'll maybe start about 6:30, and we'll chat through the season, do a bit of a season wrap up, and then we can ask loads of questions and have a bit of a laugh. It'd be a good time. And then I think the most important thing for me to say is that I don't care about awards, but there was one player that's been robbed for the Player of the Season award, which is obviously the man, the myth, the legend that was Jerome Roussillon. Where would we be without that man? All the best, everybody. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you after Swansea on Sunday.